Hi, it's Dean here. Today I've got iGear's Conair, the Conehead set. Sorry it doesn't look so good here, it's just the box is so big it's getting too close to my lights. It makes it look a little bit washed out. I've actually bought all 6 of the Coneheads. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know what I'm going to think. I'm not sure if I'm going to review all of these guys today. Let's open it up and find out. I've decided to stick with Thrust for this video, mainly because I like his colours the best out of this Conehead 3-pack. My regular Seekers haven't arrived to me yet, so I can't make any comment on them. But yeah, definitely it's a toss-up between Thrust and Dirge. I like the colours on Dirge. I think he's pretty good, and Ramjet's okay. I mean, I'm not crash hot on Ramjet. He just, something about his robot mode colours don't mesh with me. But anyway, Thrust. These toys are big. When I opened the tray, I was looking at them and thought, wow, as jets, the 3 of them lined up are really huge, and they do look good, especially from these top angles. So I'm holding it quite far from me now, and it's a nice looking jet. I do appreciate it. Before I get too far though into gushing about other good things, there's a few nitpicks I've got with this. I think it's important to bring up because I don't see many other people talking about them. The first is that it doesn't look straight. So this is the vehicle mode. This would not work as a plane. I've got this tabbed in as well as it can possibly be all put together. The nose has a slight upwards bend, and this plane would go bananas if it really tried to fly, and that kind of annoys me a little bit. I've tried squeezing it up, but really it just seems that the lines, how they cut it, like this join here especially, it makes it so it has to be bent up like that. It's not really got anything to do with how I've tabbed other bits and pieces in. Now the tabs themselves can be a little on the annoying side, and there's a lot of them, and I know this is a collectible, not a toy, so it gets a pass. The tabs get a pass from me because it's not aimed at kids, but it has quite a few. There's tabs in here, here. This piece never seems to quite want to tab in. It always pops out. More tabs up here. This notch, the little wings here, they tab in. So there's quite a bit of tabbing that you've got to do, and you'll see that on this particular one it doesn't ever go in. There's a kind of warpage in the wing, so if I've got the back half tabbed in, the front part will never go fully in, and if I try to squeeze this too hard to make it sort of straight, the back starts to work its way out. So by no means is this a perfect transforming toy. It does have its problems, but I like it. I think it's a good looking Seeker, and I like the fact that I've got a whole bunch of Seekers that are the same. So I collected the Generations, well, originally Classics mold Seekers. I've got probably almost every one of them, and I don't even really like that mold that much. And the main issue I had was the size. This size is not a problem with this, and I'm going to get to size comparisons in a moment, but just it looks kind of nice. I mean, look at that. The sheen on the plastic as it catches the light, it's attractive. It's quite big in my hand. I like the lines on the back, like the indentations as it runs down the middle. These nozzles or vents or engines, turbines, I don't know what you call them, they actually rotate. You can see through the wing there. It's like you can't flick it, it can't spin, but you can position it to look however you like. Flipping it to the underside, you'll see it's got a bit of an ugly joint here. Doesn't bother me too much. It's got ports for more weapons. It comes with this rocket attached out of the box. Let's pull that off. So you can see it's got 2 there. Now the other Seekers that I saw, the not Coneheads, they looked like they had 4 ports. The other Coneheads also only have 2, so it's something they've got in common. Thrust here does come with an extra weapon, which I'm going to try to attach now. And it can go simultaneously as that bomb, so he can carry all his weapons at the same time. I do think that this is mainly meant for the robot mode though. Let's grab the other one. You can see there it's got some paint on it, some nice silver paint. It's quite narrow in this place, so definitely be very careful when popping this out of the tray. Each of the jets comes with this display base. You just plug this sail section down in here. It can rotate for some weird reason. Funnily enough though, these pegs on each side don't fit properly in the holes. On mine, one of them was significantly fatter than the other one. And what I had to do was just sand them down a little bit around the edge. When you insert this, it doesn't have to go the whole way in, so you don't have to sand it right up until the edge here. It only just grabs a hold of, say, half of each of those pegs. So I just took a little bit off, and I'm not even that worried about stress marks on the toy. You can see I did get a few stress marks starting to form here. I don't know if it's even picking up there. I was less worried about stress marks and more that I just couldn't push it together like this with it in there because it was too fat. So to put it in, you just separate the legs a little bit and then push it back together, and you can see that it doesn't have to go the whole way in. So that's all you really need. And then you have a nice display stand, so it gives you an option how to put it. You do get a little bit of travel. If you want to have it pointing down, you can have it pointing down. If you want to have it pointing up, I guess that my sanding might have affected the friction a little bit, but also it tends to come separated at the back, so that also makes it flop. You can see that it has like the force of that peg in there is trying to push the back ends apart, so it's not the best stand. And I mean, I don't know why they couldn't just find some area. It's probably pretty congested in there. If they could have just found some area to have a peg that sticks straight in, it would have been a better decision. Really, it's not much of an issue, and that's because we do get fully working landing gear on this guy, so that you don't really have any need for a display stand, except maybe to save space. So he can just sit on the ground and roll around. For a size comparison, here's the Generations Thundercracker. I do have a Thrust. I just can't find him at the moment. If I put them back to back like this, you can see there's really a pretty significant size difference. And I mean, I always felt that this Generations mold looked good as a jet, but I always felt that he was too small as a robot. And these days, with third parties getting bigger and bigger, and even Generations Voyagers, which is so good at the moment, sometimes being bigger, this Seeker mold has had its day. Here's a comparison with one of TFC's offerings. I think this is Skydive in G1. I was never a huge Aerialbot fan, I can't really remember. I've got a feeling that these might be in scale. I know that these Raptors are probably bigger than an older jet, so maybe that's right. They look pretty good together, and I can be happy to have these on the shelf at the same time. It's not that much bigger. I was about to start making the transformation section of this video when this happened. So the connecting section between these two wing parts just popped off, and it's very hard on one side to get back in. So you can see it doesn't want to go in, and I'm kind of angry with this now. I think this was a bad choice. This should have been pinned in. I can't put it back in on camera. It doesn't want to do it. I'm going to try and do it off camera. Let's hope that it doesn't break. I did manage to get it back together. I'm pretty upset with this. I think it's not acceptable. You can see on this connecting part in here that the plastic is starting to wear off even more. Now, there always was a little dent there, so it could be snapped in, but it's just wearing off more and more. If I put any kind of twisting force in this now, it definitely feels like it's going to pop off, and I can see that this is going to get worse and worse over time. That is not acceptable. It should have had a pin joint, given how easily this is coming off. I think that's pretty shit. For a $100 figure to have a problem like that is a little bit weak. And, you know, I bought all 6, so with shipping, this is more than $600. For $600, they could have fired a few pins. I thought before I transform this, I better, like on camera, I better go backwards and forwards a few more times to work out any more kinks of bits and pieces that are going to break off. And I think in the process, it's a little bit straighter now. So if you remember at the beginning, I said that the angle was not good here. I think that if you you kind of force the arms, the end of this hand section to bend down, then you can get the nose to be a little bit straighter. Now, it might be an optical illusion. It still looks a little bit upwards to me, but I think that's much better than what I had it at the very beginning. Anyway, to transform this guy, his transformation is pretty much G1. I mean, a few more complications here and there, but he's got an essentially G1 transformation. First, you just pop off his weapons and whatnot. Next, let's bend these sections up. Then we're going to want to disengage this tab in here. Yep, and there's another tab at the front that's got to be disengaged too. It sort of moves out a little bit when you do that, and you can rotate this up. So I'm going to do the same on the other side, rotate it up like that. Now's the point where you can get these bits down out of the way and try not to pop them off. The side wings are going to slide up like this and then tab into the other wing. That's pretty ingenious, and it's a really good way to deal with these wings on the ankles that Seekers always have, or Coneheads for that matter, and I think that's pretty cool. Pop these tabs like this, rotate them around. Once I get the legs separated, they're going to peg in just here, so separate these legs. Peg these guys in, and then pull the legs down like this. And you can already see there he's got a nice double jointed knee. Flip up this panel for the heel, flip down this panel for the toe. There you've got the bottom half of the robot. Bend down this chest piece like this to get it out of the way, and you can lift up the head like that so that you get a little bit more clearance in here. Now, these are all part of the arms, and what you want to do is poke them through, much like how G1 bent around, except in this case, instead of the hands coming off, they come along for the ride. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but it's not too hard. Getting it back in, a little bit more tricky, but as I said, it's not too hard. You get used to it. Poke this little panel down, which is at the back here. It gives a little bit of clearance for this upper section to slot in. Move these little panels at the side in. It's hard to see there, but they were just kind of panels in jet mode. So this all goes around like that. Start to put this chest piece up. Poke the chest right back down, and then it's supposed to tab in. But as I said with my thrust, the tab doesn't want to hold on one side, but it is supposed to tab in like that. The last thing left to do is really cosmetic. We just want to bend up his shoulders like this, put his hands into a better position. This panel on the back of the arm folds back on itself so that the forearm is a little bit fatter, which looks good. Stick the null ray, I don't know, these are not null rays, I don't know what Thrust has. Stick Thrust's guns onto his bicep region here. There's a nice little independently moving gun holder. It's pretty tight. And there you have it. Robot mode looks pretty good. It's kind of a bit weird to see the cone sticking up out of his head like that. I know Coneheads had that kind of look, and in the G1 art, I know Coneheads didn't actually have the cone. I think the G1 boxes showed the vents at the side of the head, but the combination of cone and vent is a little bit weird. I'm not saying it's bad. I just have to get used to it, I think. I think the face is done pretty well. You can see I've switched to a black background here. It's just his dark colors weren't really showing up on the lighter background. It was blowing it out. It's a bit hard to put on video, but he's got a nice range of motion in the knee. Good double joint there. Universal joint at the hips, which at the moment is stiff enough, but I always worry about those pinned universal joints. He's got double jointed elbows, so he can bend right up like that, and that's partly due to transformation. I think that was necessary. The hand is a nice hand sculpt. You can see all the fingers there, and looks like he's capable of holding a weapon, although he doesn't need to hold a weapon because his cannons, as I said before, can attach to the sides. I like this vent detail up here. It's kind of like a vent cover. That's all painted silver. That's pretty good. I like the way his wings stick out like this. I know Thrust is meant to have wings on his legs, so if anything, that's probably one deviation in this set where it's not exactly right. Looking at him from the back, you can see his plain nose hanging out there on the back, not too obtrusive. You can only see it from right back here. These bits don't really tab in, they just sort of float there. Probably would have preferred if they just pegged back on themselves like that. A thing that's really very annoying is that this panel that I mentioned in jet mode that would never tab in, it never tabs in robot mode. There is nothing I can do to make this tab in. It's just pops out constantly. If I pop this out, you can see I've got a big chunk of blue tack in there kind of holding him together, and it's a really bad flaw because that's the front of the robot. I mean, if you can't get the front of the robot looking good, the robot has no point. So without blue tack, it's pretty much impossible for him to look all held together in one piece. I'm not too happy about that. I haven't played with the other ones. I don't know if that's widespread. It's clear what the problem is. This plastic is not made of the same stuff as the rest of the toy. I think because it's got narrow sections down here, they wanted it to be more durable, but it probably has had some kind of warpage because it, I don't know, maybe it shrinks at a different rate to other plastic, or who knows, but that warpage just stops it from tabbing in. It's really annoying. Thrust does come with a second front of the head, including this faceplate. I've heard one criticism of these sets being that they're very animated in their facial expressions. Now, the more neutral pose or expression face looks fine with Generations, but I do find that this second head definitely has a more animated leaning. I'm not against it. I don't think it's terrible, but I do prefer the one that he ships with, and I think that's quite good. I like animated fine, just not in my Generations. He looks pretty cool. I mean, I really like that. I mean, it's about time we got some fully posable, big, more realistic looking, awesome jets for our Decepticon ranks. And I had always thought that it would be done with a traditional G1 looking jet, but this modern update, it's definitely good. I do like it. Here he is with the current Masterpiece cars, and it's really looking good with them, but it depends how you want to view this. If you like the robots to be similarly sized, that's pretty awesome. But if you like them to be a little bit on the bigger side, because, you know, let's face it, jets would be a lot bigger than sports cars, then Masterpiece is probably really scaled to Masterpiece. But just on the shelf, he looks fantastic with the Masterpiece cars, and I think that's fine. With Hegemon, he is kind of equal in size, and that starts to become a little bit of a problem because Megatron should be tougher than his jets. It's not too much different. I mean, it looks like they're exactly the same size. So I think the problem lies with Hegemon being a little bit too small, not that the iGear jets are too big. To emphasize that, the Orion, which is the good size, does look exactly right. So if we got a Megatron that was the same size as Orion, then these jet guys would be perfectly sized to stand on the shelf with them. And our poor little current generation size deluxes. I mean, which would you choose? My final thoughts. I kind of feel bad comparing it to this guy, but we're really moving from this to this. So for so long we've had to have these little old classics mold jets, which, as I said, even when they came out seemed a bit small. Did look cool for its time, but this is a very welcome improvement and I do like it. I can't wait to get the rest of the guys, because to have all 6 on the shelf at the same time, that's something I won't have done before. I mean, I've never even displayed my Generations Seekers all together just because I bought them over such a wide range of time. Now, in a later video, I'll probably show you the other 2 guys, Dirge and Ramjet, just a brief video to show what they look like. But these all transform pretty much the same, just a little bit of difference in the wing. QC-wise, it's not bad. In the realms of third-party figures, these are not, they're not terrible. This is a bit of a killer though, and I hope that the other 5 figures that I get don't have this warpage issue, because it really bums me out that can't tab in. This thing that I complained about before, that is also a bit pathetic, but I found that being careful, it doesn't come off again. So I'm going to try to continue being careful and not wreck it, because multiple removals and putting back on is definitely going to wear that out to the point where it won't be very usable. I like the head, I like the overall look, and I mean, I think it looks so good that I'm willing to gloss over a little bit of those problems. The problems are real and they're pretty bad, but as a whole, it looks so good in this robot mode, and 85% of what I want in jet mode, that I'm happy to have it, and I think that it was worth getting. For all the shit that iGear get about not being original, I do understand it. This is not really an original transformation, but the execution is original and done really well. It turns out iGear have made some of my favourite things. So the Specialists, the Ratchet and Ironhide, and now these, they look fantastic. Now, I wouldn't call these on the same level in any way as those Specialist guys. They are just fantastic toys, and these don't meet that level, but they do look good together, and I haven't got them out at the moment. When I show the rest of these figures, I'll try to show the Specialists in the same picture, because they feel like they could go together. I mean, part of it is the face sculpts. I really get the feeling that the face sculpts have been done by the same person. You get used to it, it looks good. Anyway, this has been my video review for iGear's version of Thrust. I'm Odeon, thank you for watching. The thighs are really satisfying too. You get a swivel, but look how thick those thighs are, and it's a good double joint there.